Lieutenant Hana Kim stood at the observation window of Harmony Station, watching the stars drift past in the endless black. She had been in space for 3 months now, but the sight still took her breath away. Behind her, the massive hall buzzed with activity as dozens of alien species prepared for the Cultural Exchange Festival. This was her first major assignment as Earth's xenobiologist and cultural liaison officer. The pressure was real, but Hana had never been one to crack under stress. She adjusted her uniform and turned back to face the hall. The space was enormous, easily the size of 3 football fields. Holographic displays floated everywhere, showing images of different planets and creatures. Alien delegates moved between stations, their forms ranging from the familiar to the absolutely bizarre. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated, crawled, or moved in ways Hana's brain couldn't quite process. A tall figure approached her. Ambassador Valen of the Velcrin species moved with fluid grace, their iridescent skin shifting through shades of blue and purple. The Velcrin were one of the founding members of the Galactic Council, and their opinion carried serious weight. "Lieutenant Kim," Valen said, their voice like wind chimes, "we are honored to have Earth participate in this tradition. Your planet is still young in the galactic community, but we believe cultural exchange builds the strongest bridges." Hana nodded respectfully. "We're grateful for the opportunity, Ambassador. Earth has a lot to learn from the older species. And much to teach, I'm certain," Valen replied. "Tell me, has your delegation decided which creature you will present?" "Every species showcases the animal that best represents their world and values." Before Hana could answer, a deep rumble echoed through the hall. The presentation ceremony had begun. The lights dimmed and a massive holographic projection appeared in the center of the room. The first presenter was from Velcros, Valen's homeworld. The image showed a creature that looked like a cross between a whale and a cloud. It drifted through the upper atmosphere of a gas giant, its transparent body glowing with soft bioluminescence. "The sky whale of Velcros," Valen explained proudly. "They sing to each other across thousands of miles. Our ancestors learned harmony and cooperation by studying their songs. They taught us that true strength comes from unity and peace." The crowd murmured appreciation. Hana had to admit it was beautiful. Next came the Orcs, a species of logical, calculating beings who resembled tall praying mantises made of silver metal. Their creature was equally impressive, a massive beast that looked like a tiger mixed with a dragon but with kind, intelligent eyes. "The guardian beast," the Orcs presenter explained in their mechanical voice. "For 10,000 years they have protected our cities. They are telepathic, bonding with one family for life. They represent loyalty, wisdom, and protective power." More appreciative sounds filled the hall. Hana glanced over at her colleague, diplomat Taman Park, who stood near the Earth delegation's area. He caught her eye and gave a small shrug. The bar was being set pretty high. The presentations continued. The Korath, a warrior species built like bipedal bears covered in dark scales, showed their ancient war beasts, massive herbivores that had carried Korath warriors for thousands of years, representing honor and strength in battle. The Miran, small rabbit-like beings with 6 legs and enormous eyes, presented their forest spirits, gentle creatures that pollinated their world's plants and were considered sacred protectors of nature. Each presentation followed the same pattern. Majestic creatures, beautiful creatures, wise and powerful beings that represented the highest ideals of their species: peace, wisdom, strength, loyalty, harmony. Hana felt a knot forming in her stomach. She looked down at her data tablet, where she had several options saved. Earth didn't have one official national animal. Different countries had different symbols. The bald eagle, the lion, the dragon, the tiger, all impressive in their own right. But something about all these presentations bothered her. They were showing ideals, not reality. They were showing what their species wanted to be, not what they actually were. Ambassador Valen appeared beside her again. "Your turn approaches soon, Lieutenant. I must confess I'm very curious. Earth is such a diverse world. You have so many magnificent creatures to choose from. The great cats, the massive sea mammals, the intelligent primates. Which did you select?" Hana felt dozens of eyes turn toward her. The weight of expectation pressed down from all sides. Earth was the newest member of the Galactic Council. This was their chance to make a good impression, to show they belonged among these ancient, established civilizations. She could play it safe. Show them elephants, symbols of wisdom and memory, or dolphins representing intelligence and playfulness, eagles for freedom and power, wolves for loyalty and family bonds. But that wasn't honest. Those animals were impressive, sure, but they weren't really representative of humanity's journey. Humans hadn't survived because they were the strongest or the wisest or the most majestic. They had survived through something else entirely. "Lieutenant Kim?" Valen prompted gently. "Are you well? You seem troubled." Hana made a decision. It might be the wrong one. It might cause problems. But she was tired of pretending humanity was something it wasn't. "I'm fine, Ambassador," she said, pulling up a specific file on her tablet. "I've made my choice." "Wonderful." Valen's skin rippled with pleased colors. "I'm certain Earth's selection will be as magnificent as your planet itself." Taman caught her eye again from across the room. He looked nervous. He had been coaching her all week about making a good impression, about showing Earth's peaceful intentions, about demonstrating that humans could be trusted with advanced technology and galactic citizenship. The presenter before Earth finished their showcase. A species called the Dreth showed their symbol animal, a crystalline bird that lived for 1,000 years and represented patience and eternal beauty. Then it was Earth's turn. Hana walked to the center of the hall, her boots clicking on the polished floor. Every alien eye focused on her. The pressure was immense, but she kept her face neutral. Years of military training helped with that. "Greetings," she began, her voice amplified by the hall's systems. "I am Lieutenant Hana Kim of Earth. Our planet is young compared to many of yours. We've only just reached the stars, but our journey to get here was not easy." She paused, looking around at all the different species. Earth is a harsh world in many ways. We have extreme temperatures, violent weather, deadly predators, and limited resources. Humanity survived not because we were strong or wise or majestic. We survived because we refused to give up. Valen's skin flickered with curiosity. The Korath war chief leaned forward with interest. "So when you ask me what animal represents Earth and humanity," Hana continued, "I can't show you something beautiful or peaceful. I have to show you something real." She activated her tablet. The holographic display flickered to life. "This," she said, "is a honey badger." The image showed a small, stocky creature with black and white fur. It looked almost cute compared to the magnificent beasts other species had shown. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Then the video began to play. The honey badger was near water. A crocodile, easily 5 times the badger's size, lay on the bank. Any sensible creature would avoid the massive predator. The honey badger attacked. The hall fell silent as they watched the small mammal dodge crushing jaws, bite at the crocodile's vulnerable spots, and absolutely refuse to back down. The fight was brutal and quick. The crocodile retreated into the water. The honey badger strutted away like nothing had happened and began digging for food. Nobody made a sound. Hana cleared her throat. The honey badger weighs about 12 kilograms. It has virtually no natural predators. It attacks lions. It raids beehives despite thousands of bee stings. It shrugs off venom from the deadliest snakes on our planet. She paused, meeting Valen's shocked gaze. "This is Earth, this is humanity. We don't quit. We don't care about the odds. We just keep going." The silence in the hall was deafening. The silence lasted for exactly 5 seconds. Then chaos erupted. The Velcrin delegation huddled together, their skin flashing rapid patterns of distress. Several smaller species scattered toward the exits. The Korath war chief stood up abruptly, his massive frame towering over everyone nearby. Even the logical Therox began chattering among themselves in their clicking language. Hana stood in the center of it all, still holding her tablet, watching the reaction spread through the hall like ripples on water. She had expected surprise, maybe some confusion, but this level of panic? That was new. Ambassador Valen approached her quickly, their graceful walk now hurried and stiff. Their skin had turned a deep purple that Hana's cultural training identified as serious concern. "Lieutenant Kim," Valen said, their musical voice now tight with tension. "That creature. It attacked without provocation. It showed no fear of a predator many times its size. Your species identifies with this behavior?" Before Hana could answer, Taman was at her side. He had crossed the hall faster than she thought possible. His face was carefully neutral, but she could see the stress in his eyes. "Ambassador, if I may," Taman said smoothly. "I'm sure Lieutenant Kim can provide context." "Context?" A new voice cut in. One of the Velcrin council members floated forward. "What context makes such violence acceptable?" We were told Earth sought peaceful integration into the galactic community. Other voices joined in. A representative from the Mirren spoke up, their large eyes wider than usual. Our people have strict laws against unnecessary aggression. We cannot ally with species who glorify such behavior. The Therox delegation leader stepped forward, their metallic body reflecting the holographic lights. We require clarification. Does humanity encourage unprovoked attacks? Is this how Earth resolves conflicts? Hana felt the situation spiraling. This wasn't going the way she had planned. Well, to be honest, she hadn't really planned this. She had just wanted to be honest instead of pretending humanity was something it wasn't. Everyone, please. Director Ji-hoon Choi's voice rang out across the hall. The head of Earth's diplomatic delegation was a veteran negotiator who had helped establish first contact protocols. He moved through the crowd with practiced ease. I'm sure we can discuss this calmly. Perhaps we should adjourn and reconvene when— No, said Korath, the Korath war chief. His deep voice silenced the murmurs. He walked toward the center of the hall, his heavy footsteps echoing. I want to understand this now. He stopped in front of Hana, looking down at her from his impressive height. His dark scales gleamed and his eyes were sharp with intelligence. This honey badger. Show more footage. It wasn't a request. Hana glanced at Director Choi, who gave her a slight nod. She pulled up another video on her tablet. This one showed a honey badger raiding a beehive. Thousands of bees swarmed around the small creature, stinging repeatedly. The badger ignored them completely, eating honey and bee larvae while the insects attacked. Extraordinary, Korath rumbled. How does it survive the venom? Thick skin and rapid healing, Hana explained. But mostly determination. It wants the honey more than it cares about the pain. Korath's expression was unreadable. And humans share this trait? This refusal to acknowledge danger? We prefer to call it persistence, Hana said carefully. The Korath war chief made a sound that might have been laughter. My people respect strength. This tiny warrior has strength beyond its size. But the others fear what this means about your kind. He wasn't wrong. The hall had divided into clear groups. Some species were gathered in worried clusters, whispering among themselves. Others watched with fascination or curiosity. The Velcrin delegation had moved to a far corner, clearly distressed. A member of the Dreth species, the ones who had shown the 1,000-year crystal bird, spoke up. Their voice was like glass chiming. Perhaps Earth does not understand the purpose of this exchange. We showcase our ideals, our aspirations, not our base survival instincts. Base instincts? Hana felt her temper rising despite her training. The honey badger isn't mindless aggression. It's a survivor. It's intelligent. It uses tools. It solves problems. It protects its young fiercely. By attacking everything it encounters, the Dreth replied coolly. No, Hana countered. By refusing to be limited by fear. There's a difference. Valen stepped between them, their skin now a swirl of purple and pale blue. Lieutenant Kim, I don't think you understand the severity of this situation. The Galactic Council bases membership on trust. We must trust that new species will contribute to peace and stability. Your presentation suggests humanity is dangerously reckless. The words hit harder than Hana expected. She had been trying to show human resilience, human determination, but she could see how it looked from their perspective. Every other species had shown peaceful, majestic creatures. Then Earth showed up with footage of a small animal fighting everything in sight. Ambassador, she started, but Valen raised a hand. The Council will need to discuss this privately. The finality in their voice was clear. Director Choi stepped forward. Of course, Ambassador. We understand. Earth's delegation will await your decision. As the alien delegations began filing out to their private chambers, Taman grabbed Hana's arm and steered her toward Earth's designated area. The small room was meant for preparation and private discussions. Now it felt like a prison. The door closed behind them. Director Choi stood with his arms crossed, his expression carefully neutral. Two other Earth diplomats, Suji Kang and Minho Lee, sat at the table looking worried. Well, Director Choi said quietly, that was dramatic. I'm sorry, Hana began, but he held up a hand. Explain. What were you thinking? Hana took a breath. Every species showed their best face, their ideals. But that's not honest. Humans didn't get to the stars by being majestic or wise. We got here by being stubborn, by refusing to quit even when everything said we should. The honey badger represents that better than any eagle or lion. The honey badger, Taman said, his voice strained, also represents unprovoked violence to them. Do you know how long I've worked to convince the council that humans aren't dangerously aggressive? 3 years, Hana. 3 years of careful diplomacy. I wasn't trying to... I know what you were trying to do, Director Choi interrupted. You wanted to be authentic, honest. Those are good instincts. But timing matters. Understanding your audience matters. Suji spoke up from the table. What's done is done. The question is, how do we fix it? Minyo nodded. The Velkrin are scared. The Mirin are terrified. Even some of the neutral species looked concerned. If the Council votes to restrict Earth's access or delay full membership, it could set us back decades. The weight of that settled over the room. Earth's position in the galactic community was still fragile. They needed allies, needed trade agreements, needed access to advanced technology and knowledge. All of that could disappear because Hana had wanted to make a point. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Director Choi checked his communicator and his expression darkened. The Council is convening an emergency session tomorrow morning. They're asking Earth to explain our presentation and clarify our intentions regarding galactic peace. An emergency session? Suji looked alarmed. That's serious. Very serious, Choi agreed. He turned to Hana. They want you to present. You started this, so you need to finish it. You have until tomorrow to prepare a presentation that explains what you actually meant. Make them understand that humanity isn't a threat. And if I can't? Hana asked quietly. Director Choi's expression was grave. Then Earth loses its place at the table. All our work, all our progress gone. Because of one honey badger video. The room fell silent. Through the small window, Hana could see aliens still gathered in the main hall, clearly discussing the incident. Some looked frightened, others angry. A few seemed intrigued. I need research materials, Hana said finally. Everything we have on human history, psychology, survival patterns. And I need to talk to specialists back on Earth. You'll have whatever you need, Choi promised. But Hana? Tomorrow you need to show them who we really are. Not just our ability to fight and survive. Our ability to grow, to protect, to build. Can you do that? Hana looked at her tablet where the honey badger video was still paused. The small creature stood frozen mid-stride, fearless and determined. Yes, she said. I can do that. She had broken the situation. Now she had to fix it. And she had less than 24 hours to figure out how. Hana sat in the small Earth delegation office at 3 a.m, surrounded by holographic displays and half-empty coffee cups. Her eyes burned from staring at screens, but she couldn't stop. Every piece of information might be the key to fixing the disaster she had created. The door opened quietly. Suji entered carrying 2 fresh cups of coffee and a plate of something that resembled food. You need to eat, Suji said, setting the plate down. And sleep. You can't save Earth's reputation if you collapse from exhaustion. I'm fine, Hana muttered, scrolling through another research file. You're not fine. None of us are fine. Suji sat down across from her. But running yourself into the ground won't help. Talk me through what you're working on. Hana gestured at the floating displays around her. I'm trying to understand how they see us versus how we actually are. Look at this. The Velkrin evolved on a planet with almost no predators. Their biggest survival challenge was coordinating resources across huge distances, so they value harmony and cooperation above everything else. She pulled up another display. The Therox developed on a world with extreme logic puzzles built into their ecosystem. Poisonous plants that required specific sequences to safely harvest. Predators that could only be avoided through mathematical prediction. They value calculated thinking and wisdom. And the Korath? Suji asked. Honor-based warrior culture, but even their wars followed strict rules. No surprise attacks, no fighting during certain seasons. Formal challenges and single combat. Violence, but controlled and ritualized. Hana rubbed her tired eyes. Then I show them a honey badger, which represents everything they don't understand. Uncontrolled aggression, fighting without rules, attacking things bigger and stronger for no clear reason. But that's not what you meant to show them, Suji pointed out. No, I meant to show resilience, determination, survival against impossible odds. Hana pulled up footage of Earth's history. Humans evolved in one of the harshest environments in the known galaxy. We were surrounded by predators faster than us, stronger than us, better armed than us. We had no venom, no claws, no thick hide. We survived because we were too stubborn to die. Suji studied the images. So how do you make them see that? How do you make them understand the difference between violence and survival? I don't know yet. Hana's voice was frustrated. Every example I find sounds like an excuse for aggression. We fought because we had to. We developed weapons because we needed them. We never gave up because giving up meant extinction. Another figure appeared in the doorway. Minyo entered looking equally exhausted. The council is still in session. I've been monitoring their public statements. It's not good. He activated a new display showing a statement from the Velkrin delegation. They're calling for a formal review of Earth's psychological profiles. They want proof that humans can coexist peacefully with other species. What about the Korath? Hana asked. Minyo's expression was complicated. Korath actually defended you. He said any species that survives through determination alone deserves respect. But he's in the minority. Most of the warrior cultures are waiting to see how you explain yourself. And the Mirren? Terrified, Minho said bluntly. They've been conquered before. Species that valued peace above survival, they see the honey badger as proof that humans are conquerors waiting to happen. Hana felt the weight of it crushing down on her. She had wanted to be honest, to show the truth of humanity's nature. Instead, she had confirmed every fear the peaceful species already had about humans. Her communicator chimed. A call from Earth, from the Xenobiology Institute. She accepted it, and the hologram of Dr. Byung Park appeared. The elderly scientist had been Hana's mentor during her training. Lieutenant Kim, he said warmly, though his eyes showed concern. I heard about your presentation. Quite the stir you've caused. That's one way to put it, Hana said tiredly. I'm trying to fix it, but every angle I approach makes us look worse. Dr. Park nodded slowly. You're trying to justify the honey badger. That's your mistake. What do you mean? You're trying to make them see the honey badger as not violent, he explained. But it is violent. That's the truth. The question isn't whether the honey badger fights. The question is why it fights. Hana leaned forward. Go on. The honey badger doesn't attack for territory or dominance or sport. It attacks when threatened, when hungry, when protecting its young. It fights for survival and for what matters. That's the distinction you need to make them understand. Dr. Park pulled up his own data. I'm sending you research on honey badger behavior. They're not mindless killing machines. They're intelligent, problem-solving, caring parents who will do whatever it takes to survive and protect their family. A new file appeared on Hana's display. Videos of honey badgers using tools, teaching their young, avoiding fights when possible, and yes, fighting fiercely when necessary. But won't that still scare them? Suji asked. The idea that we'll fight fiercely when threatened? Dr. Park smiled slightly. Perhaps, but it's honest. And it's also reassuring if framed correctly. A species that fights only when necessary is more trustworthy than one that claims to never fight at all. Because the latter is either lying or will crumble when tested. Hana started to see it. So I don't apologize for showing the honey badger. I explain it properly. Exactly, Dr. Park confirmed. Show them the complete picture. The fierce protection, yes, but also the intelligence, the care, the preference for avoiding conflict when possible. The honey badger fights, but it also heals, builds, and nurtures. Another call came through. This time it was anthropologist Dahi Kim from Seoul University. Lieutenant Kim, I heard you need help understanding human persistence patterns across cultures. I have data you need to see. Over the next hour, Hana's screen filled with information. Stories from every human culture of survival against impossible odds. Not stories of conquest or violence, but of rebuilding after disasters, of protecting communities, of refusing to accept extinction. The Great Fire of London and how people rebuilt. The Dust Bowl and how families survived. Earthquakes, tsunamis, plagues, ice ages. Humanity had faced them all and kept going. It's not just about fighting, Dahi explained. It's about healing after being hurt, growing after being knocked down. The honey badger is famous for its fighting, yes, but it's also famous for something else. Its incredible healing ability. It can recover from injuries that would kill other animals. Hana's mind raced. That was it. That was the piece she had been missing. Humans are the same, she said slowly. We've been knocked down thousands of times, but we always get back up. That's what the honey badger represents. Not violence, recovery, resilience. Taemin appeared in the doorway looking surprised to find so many people awake. It's almost 5 in the morning. The session starts at 9. Have you been working all night? Yes, Hana said. But there was energy in her voice now instead of exhaustion. And I think I know what to say. She started pulling together her presentation, weaving together everything she had learned. The honey badger fighting, yes, but also healing. Humanity struggling, yes, but also rebuilding. The parallel was clear. Show them our scars, Suji said quietly, but also show them how we healed those scars. And show them why we fight, Minho added. Not for conquest, for protection, for survival, for what matters. Director Choi entered the room looking alert despite the early hour. He studied the displays Hana had assembled, the videos and data and carefully constructed arguments. This could work, he said finally. But it's a risk. You're doubling down on the honey badger instead of backing away from it. Backing away would be a lie, Hana replied. They'll see through that. Better to own it and explain it properly. Choi nodded slowly. You have 4 hours. Make it perfect. As the sun began to rise over Harmony Station, Hana worked to reshape her presentation. Not a defense, not an apology, an explanation, an honest look at what humanity was and why that wasn't something to fear. The honey badger wasn't a symbol of violence. It was a symbol of survival. And if the Galactic Council couldn't understand that, then maybe Earth didn't belong among the stars after all. But Hana suspected they would understand. They just needed to see the complete picture instead of a single shocking video. She glanced at the clock. 3 hours and 45 minutes until the emergency session. Time to show the galaxy who humanity really was. The honey badger video played on loop in the corner of her screen. The small creature fighting, surviving, persisting. Just like humanity had for thousands of years. Just like Hana would for the next few hours. The council chamber was different from the festival hall. Smaller, more formal, with curved seating arranged in a circle so every delegation could see each other. Hana stood in the center, feeling the weight of hundreds of alien eyes on her. Ambassador Valen opened the session. Their skin was a neutral pale green, carefully controlled. Lieutenant Kim, you stand before the Galactic Council to explain your presentation from yesterday. Many species have expressed concern about Earth's cultural values and intentions. You may begin. Hana took a breath. Her presentation floated ready on her tablet, but she decided to start without it. Thank you, Ambassador. I want to begin with an apology. Not for showing the honey badger, but for showing it without context. I confused you and scared some of you, and that wasn't my intention. The Mirren delegation shifted nervously. The Velcrin remained very still. Yesterday, every species showed the best version of themselves. Beautiful creatures that represent your highest ideals. I showed you something different and you interpreted it as aggression. I understand why, but you misunderstood what the honey badger means to humanity. She activated her presentation. The first image wasn't the crocodile fight. It was a map of Earth. This is my planet. Compared to most worlds in the Council, Earth is harsh. We have extreme temperature swings, violent weather, limited fresh water in many regions, and most importantly, we evolved surrounded by predators. The display showed various Earth predators: lions, bears, crocodiles, sharks, snakes. Humans are not the strongest species on our planet. We're not the fastest. We don't have natural weapons, armor, or venom. In pure physical terms, we're weak. She paused. So how did we survive? A Therox Council member spoke up. You developed intelligence and tools. Yes, Hana agreed. But that took time. For thousands of years before we had advanced tools, we survived through something else. Persistence. Refusal to give up. The same trait we see in the honey badger. She pulled up new footage. This time the honey badger wasn't fighting. It was digging, using its claws to break through hard earth to reach food. It dug for hours, persistent and focused. The honey badger survives in environments where it shouldn't be able to survive. Deserts with limited food. Territories controlled by larger predators. It survives because it never stops trying. Watch. The next video showed a honey badger trapped in an enclosure. Over several hours of time-lapse footage, the creature tried different methods to escape. Climbing, digging, pushing, pulling. Finally, it stacked objects to reach a weak point in the fence and broke through. Problem-solving, the Therox member said with interest. Yes, intelligence paired with determination. The honey badger doesn't give up. It tries every solution until something works. Hana looked around the chamber. Humanity is the same. We faced problems that should have destroyed us. Ice ages that covered our food sources. Droughts that dried up our water. Diseases that killed millions, but we never stopped looking for solutions. She showed images from Earth's history, not battles or weapons, but innovations, ancient irrigation systems, early architecture, cave paintings showing humans sharing knowledge. We survived because we persisted, because we adapted, because we refused to accept extinction. Hannah's voice was steady now, confident. That's what the honey badger represents. Not violence for its own sake, but determination to survive. A member of the Dreth species, the one who had criticized her yesterday, spoke up, but the creature attacked without provocation. We saw it. Let me show you something else. Hannah pulled up a longer version of the crocodile encounter. This version showed what happened before the fight. The honey badger approached the water carefully. It tried to drink from several spots, but the crocodile blocked each one. The badger needed water. The crocodile wouldn't move. Only then did the badger attack. It wasn't unprovoked, Hannah explained. It was necessary. The honey badger needed water to survive. It tried to avoid conflict. But when survival was at stake, it fought. She pulled up more footage. Honey badgers avoiding lions when possible, running from elephants, choosing not to engage unless necessary. The honey badger fights when it has to, not because it wants to. That's a critical difference. Korath, the Korath war chief, made an approving rumble. Survival combat is honorable. Fighting when necessary shows wisdom, not aggression. Hannah nodded. Exactly. And there's something else about the honey badger that I didn't explain yesterday. Something equally important. The new footage showed a honey badger with 2 small cubs. The mother taught them how to dig, how to find food, how to defend themselves. When a snake threatened the cubs, she fought it off fiercely. When they were safe, she groomed them gently. The honey badger is famous for its fighting. But it's also one of the most devoted parents in nature. It protects its young with absolute dedication. It teaches them survival skills. It heals remarkably fast from injuries so it can continue caring for them. Hannah looked directly at the Mirren delegation. The honey badger doesn't fight for conquest or sport. It fights to protect what matters. Its young, its survival, its right to exist. The rabbit-like alien seemed to relax slightly. Now let me show you how this relates to humanity. Hannah pulled up historical footage from Earth. We've faced extinction-level events multiple times. Each time we survived not through strength, but through persistence and cooperation. The images showed disaster after disaster. Earthquakes, floods, volcanic eruptions. And after each one, humans rebuilding. After every catastrophe, humans could have given up. Instead, we rebuilt, we healed, we grew stronger. She showed footage of communities working together, helping each other, sharing resources. We fight when we must, like the honey badger. But we prefer to build, a new voice spoke up. One of the Velkrin council members. But fighting is still part of your nature. How can we trust that you won't fight us? Hannah had been expecting this question, because fighting has a cost. Let me show you something. The footage changed to show honey badgers healing from injuries. Scars from snake bites, claw marks from larger predators, wounds from bees and thorns. The honey badger heals fast, but healing still takes energy. Fighting still hurts. It doesn't fight unless the alternative is worse. She switched to human medical footage. Humans are the same. We know the cost of fighting. We carry our scars. Throughout our history, we've learned that cooperation achieves more than conflict. Then why show us the fighting at all? Phelan asked. Why not show us your cooperation and peace? Because that wouldn't be honest, Hannah replied. Every species here yesterday showed their ideals. What they want to be. I showed you what we are. We're not perfectly peaceful. We're not always wise. We're survivors who do what's necessary. She pulled up one final video. A honey badger that had been rescued after a severe injury. Over weeks of footage, it slowly healed, learned to trust its caretakers, and eventually returned to the wild. But we're also capable of trust, of growth, of changing when we understand there's a better way. The chamber was silent. Hannah could feel the attention focused on her, but it was different now. Not fearful, thoughtful. I showed you the honey badger fighting because hiding that part would be a lie. But I should have shown you the complete picture. The fighting, yes, but also the healing, the protecting, the problem-solving, the devotion to family, the choice to avoid conflict when possible. She closed her presentation. Humanity survived by being persistent like the honey badger. But we also survived by learning, adapting, and cooperating. We're not dangerous because we can fight. We're trustworthy because we choose not to fight unless we have no other option. Hana looked around the chamber at all the different species. You asked me what animal represents Earth. The honey badger does. Not because we're violent, but because we survive. Because we protect what matters. Because we never give up. And because, like the honey badger, we'd rather dig for food than fight over it. But if you corner us, if you threaten what we protect, you'll find out why the honey badger has no natural predators. The silence stretched out. Then Korath stood, his massive frame commanding attention. The Korath respect this explanation. A warrior who fights only when necessary is more honorable than one who never fights. We vote in favor of Earth's continued membership. Ambassador Valen's skin rippled through several colors. Finally, they spoke. The Velkrin appreciate Lieutenant Kim's honesty. We value peace, but we understand that survival sometimes requires difficult choices. We need time to deliberate, but we are no longer afraid. The Mirren representatives stood on their hind legs, a sign of respect in their culture. Our people know the cost of being too peaceful. We were conquered because we couldn't defend ourselves. Earth shows us that protection and peace can coexist. We vote in favor. One by one, other species spoke. Some needed more time. Some voted immediately. But the fear was gone, replaced by understanding. Hana felt the tension drain from her body. 3 hours later, the council reconvened with their decision. Hana stood in the center of the chamber again, but this time Director Choi stood beside her. The entire Earth delegation was present, along with what seemed like every species on Harmony Station. Ambassador Valen rose to speak. Their skin had settled into a calm blue-green pattern. The Galactic Council has deliberated on Earth's cultural presentation and Lieutenant Kim's explanation. We have voted. Valen paused and Hana felt her heart hammering. Earth's full membership is confirmed with no restrictions. Furthermore, we recognize that Lieutenant Kim's honesty, while initially alarming, represents the kind of genuine cultural exchange we claim to value. Relief flooded through Hana. Beside her, Director Choi allowed himself a small smile. Valen continued. However, we do have one request. We ask that Earth provide additional cultural materials showing the balance Lieutenant Kim described. The protection alongside the fighting. The healing alongside the struggling. We wish to understand humanity more completely. Of course, Ambassador, Director Choi replied. We would be honored to provide a more comprehensive cultural exchange. As the formal session ended, delegates began approaching the Earth group. The reactions were mixed but mostly positive. The Therox council member who had spoken earlier approached Hana. Your presentation was logical and well-reasoned. The honey badger's problem-solving abilities are impressive. We would like to collaborate on comparative intelligence studies between our species. We'd welcome that, Hana replied, slightly amazed at the turnaround. The Mirren representative hopped over next, their large eyes blinking rapidly. Lieutenant Kim, our people would like to learn more about protective strategies that don't require abandoning our peaceful nature. Perhaps Earth could share some knowledge? Absolutely, Hana said warmly. Peace is always better than conflict, but being prepared for conflict can help maintain peace. The small alien's ears twitched with agreement. Exactly so. The honey badger teaches this lesson well. More species came forward with questions, requests for information, and offers of cultural exchange. The honey badger, which had nearly destroyed Earth's galactic relationships, was now opening doors. Finally, Korath approached. The massive Korath war chief looked down at Hana with what might have been respect. Lieutenant Kim, his deep voice rumbled. You showed courage yesterday. Poor timing, perhaps, but real courage. To stand before the council and show weakness alongside strength, that takes bravery. Thank you, war chief, Hana replied. Though I'm not sure showing a video counts as bravery. Korath made that sound again that might have been laughter. The video was not the brave part. The brave part was admitting your species is not perfect. Every other species showed only ideals. You showed truth. He reached into his armor and pulled out a small metal token, pressing it into Hana's hand. This is a Korath warrior's mark. It means you have earned respect through honest combat. In your case, combat with words and truth instead of weapons. Wear it with honor. Hana looked at the token, stunned. I don't know what to say. Say you will visit Korath Prime someday. I think you would enjoy our combat arenas. We could use someone who understands that fighting is about survival, not glory. Korath nodded to Director Choi and walked away. Taman appeared at Hana's side, shaking his head in disbelief. You just received a warrior's token from the Korath. Do you know how rare those are? And you got one for showing a wildlife video. Not just any wildlife video. Hana corrected with a tired smile. The right wildlife video. Director Choi gathered the Earth delegation together. I think we can call this a success. Unconventional, terrifying, nearly disastrous, but ultimately successful. I aged 10 years in the last 2 days, Taman muttered, but he was smiling. Suji pulled up her data pad. You should see what's happening on the galactic networks. The honey badger video has gone viral, millions of views across dozens of species. Everyone's talking about it, Minho laughed. We spent months preparing materials about human culture, art, music, literature, and what does everyone want to see? A badger fighting a crocodile. It's honest, Hana said simply. That's what makes it powerful. Over the next few days, the requests kept coming. Species wanted to know more about Earth's animals. Not just the impressive ones, but the survivors. The creatures that persisted against odds. Hana found herself preparing presentations about octopi, creatures with incredible intelligence and problem-solving abilities. About crows and ravens, birds that used tools and held grudges. About wolves who survived through pack cooperation and loyalty. Each presentation drew huge crowds. The aliens were fascinated by Earth's diversity of survival strategies. One evening, Hana stood at the observation window again, looking out at the stars. Ambassador Valen approached quietly, their skin a peaceful twilight blue. Lieutenant Kim, they said softly. May I join you? Of course, Ambassador. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the stars. Finally, Valen spoke. I owe you an apology. When I first saw your presentation, I was frightened. The Velkrin have lived in peace for so long, we forgot what survival really means. You don't need to apologize, Hana replied. But I do, Valen insisted. Your honey badger reminded us that peace is a luxury. A wonderful luxury, but a luxury nonetheless. It exists because someone somewhere is willing to defend it. Hana turned to look at the tall alien. The Velkrin defend peace too. Through cooperation, diplomacy, unity. Those are powerful tools. They are, Valen agreed. But they only work when everyone agrees to use them. Your species understands that. You prefer peace but prepare for alternatives. That wisdom comes from hard experience. Very hard experience, Hana said quietly. Valen's skin shifted to a warm golden color. The Council has been discussing a new initiative. We want to create a galactic survival database. Each species contributes knowledge about overcoming challenges. Earth's experience with persistence and adaptation would be invaluable. We'd be honored to contribute. There's something else, Valen continued. Several younger species, ones newer to the galactic community than Earth, have requested human advisors. They face difficulties on their home worlds and want to learn from species that understand survival. Hana felt a surge of pride. Earth would welcome the opportunity to help. A week later, the Cultural Exchange Festival concluded with a closing ceremony. This time, Earth's presentation was different. Hana stood before the assembly with a new video. When I first showed you the honey badger, I gave you half the story. Today, I want to show you the rest. The new video was a compilation. It showed honey badgers fighting, yes, but also honey badgers teaching their young, sharing food, healing from injuries, working together when they occasionally traveled in pairs, avoiding fights when possible and choosing discretion over valor. The honey badger fights when it must, Hana explained. But it also builds, heals, learns, and grows. Just like humanity, just like every species in this council, in our own ways. The video shifted to show various human activities, scientists collaborating across borders, rescue workers saving lives, teachers educating children, artists creating beauty, engineers building solutions to global problems. We're survivors, Hana said. But we're more than that. We're builders, healers, dreamers. The honey badger reminds us to never give up, but humanity has learned to pair that persistence with cooperation, creativity, and hope. The final image showed a honey badger cub following its mother through tall grass, learning to navigate the world. We're still young in the galactic community, still learning, but we're persistent learners, and we're honored to be here. The applause that followed was genuine and warm, not polite diplomatic clapping, but real appreciation. After the ceremony, messages flooded in from across the galaxy. The honey badger had become a symbol not just for Earth, but for any species facing challenges. Honey badger spirit became a phrase used in council discussions, meaning persistence in the face of difficulty. Earth received invitations to diplomatic summits, scientific collaborations, and cultural exchanges. The honey badger video, which had nearly ended Earth's galactic dreams, had instead opened countless doors. Months later, Hana visited her first alien world, Korath Prime, at War Chief Korath's invitation. The massive warrior showed her their combat arenas and was fascinated to learn that humans had similar traditions. Sports, martial arts, competition, ways to channel fighting instincts into productive challenges. Your honey badger would make a fine Korath, Korath said, watching footage of a badger defending its territory. Small warrior, big spirit. We respect this. On the flight back to Harmony Station, Hana reviewed everything that had happened. One simple decision to be honest instead of impressive. One wildlife video. One small creature that refused to know its place. And somehow it had changed everything. She pulled up her messages and found one from Dr. Byung Park back on Earth. It contained a link to a new program, the Honey Badger Initiative. Earth was establishing training centers for colonists heading to challenging worlds. The motto, printed proudly on their emblem, was simple: adapt, persist, survive. Below that, a personal note from her mentor. You showed them who we really are. Not perfect, not peaceful, not majestic. Just persistent. Well done, Lieutenant. Well done. Hana looked out at the stars sliding past her window. Somewhere out there, millions of aliens were watching videos of Earth's creatures, learning about species that survived through determination, intelligence, cooperation, and sheer refusal to give up. The honey badger had become an ambassador for Earth, and in doing so it had taught the galaxy something important. Survival wasn't about being the strongest or the wisest. It was about persisting, about adapting, about protecting what mattered and never ever giving up. Hana smiled, thinking about that first presentation. The shocked silence, the panic, the fear, and then the understanding. Sometimes the best diplomacy wasn't showing what you wanted to be. It was showing what you actually were, and trusting others to understand. The honey badger didn't care what the galaxy thought of it. It just kept surviving, and so would humanity.